Playoff basketball isn't just about winning. It's about the heart-stopping moments that become immortalized. It's about rivalries that go beyond the scoreboard, about pride and personal battles that define greatness. Every era gives us legendary matchups: Jordan versus Bird, LeBron versus Durant, Kobe versus Duncan. But some battles rise above the rest. When the stakes are high and the spotlight bright, two warriors sometimes emerge, not just to play, but leave everything on the floor. This is one of those greatest moments. Because in 1988, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference wasn't just Celtics versus Hawks, it was Larry Bird versus Dominique Wilkins. Two alpha scorers locked in a showdown for the ages. What unfolded that day wasn't a basketball game. It was a great playoff duel we'll never forget. The year was 1988. The Boston Celtics, led by the very legendary Larry Bird, were in the twilight year of the dynasty. Just 2 years removed from their last NBA championship, they were still a powerhouse in the East, but cracks were starting to show. Injuries piling up. Kevin McHale had been playing through a fractured foot, Robert Parrish slowing down, and Bird himself missing time during the regular season. Yet they remained elite, finishing the season 57-25 and locking up the #2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Hawks were an emerging force, led by Dominique Wilkins, nicknamed the Human Highlight Film. The Hawks had quietly become one of the greatest teams in the league. Wilkins had just averaged 30.7 points per game in a regular season, finished second in the scoring title race. The Hawks had gone 50-32, good for number 4, and confidence sky high. This wasn't the underground Hawks of the 80s. This team had size, depth, and superstars ready to prove he belonged in the same conversation. The series had been brutal. It was intense, physical, and wildly unpredictable. Through 6 games, both teams traded blows. By the time Game 7 rolled around the Boston Gardens, the stakes was clear. Legacies were defined. For Bird, it was about keeping the Celtics championship alive. For Dominique, it was about finally breaking through in the big stage. Both players had come into the game with everything to prove. Larry Bird, known for trash talk and icy composure, was determined to protect his home court. Where the Celtics had a 37-1 regular season. Dominique, on the other hand, entered Game 7 with one mission: take down the Celtics and announce to the world that he wasn't just a highlight reel, he was a clutch performer. What followed was a performance so electrifying and intense it transcended the game. This wasn't just a playoff game, it was personal, and every possession was a battle between two of the fiercest competitors. The game tipped off in Boston Garden on May 22, 1988. The crowd electric, as if everyone in the building knew something historic was going to happen. Both teams came out aggressive, but it quickly became clear it wasn't going to be a standard team versus team affair. It was a duel. Dominique Wilkins and Larry Bird took turns trading buckets, their individual efforts elevating the tension. By halftime, it was a war of attrition. Wilkins already poured 19 points, attacking the rim with his trademark explosiveness. Bird, even the counterpuncher, responded with his own flurry of baskets, including a no-look scoop layup that brought the crowd to its feet. At one point in the third quarter, Wilkins unleashed a tomahawk dunk, only for Bird to hit a deeper jump moments later and signal to the crowd to get louder. By the fourth quarter, it was no longer just a game, it was poetry in motion. Dominique would hit a contested jumper, the Bird would answer with a 3. Wilkins finished the game with 47 points, shooting a ridiculous 19 for 33 from field. It was a playoff career high and one of the most efficient scoring performances ever in a game. Bird wasn't far behind. He scored 20 of his 34 in the fourth quarter, executing one clutch shot. His shot 15 for 24 on the field, and his scoring spree in the final 12 minutes is still spoken of. Legendary Celtics broadcaster Johnny Most called it a heavyweight fight. Kevin McHale would later say, "That was two guys just not letting their teams loose. It was beautiful." Even after the game, Wilkins admitted, "It was like we were in a shootout. Every time I thought I'd buried him, he'd come back with another dagger." It wasn't just about scoring. The momentum swung back and forth with each possession. Trash talk flying, especially from Bird, who was notorious for it. But Dominique wasn't rattled. He kept coming, fearless and composed, even in the face of a hostile Boston crowd. There were no smiles, no celebrations, just relentless basketball. The defining moment came in the closing minutes of the fourth quarter. The game was tied at 116-116, and every shot felt like a knockout punch waiting to land. With under 3 minutes remaining, he hit back-to-back mid-range jumpers, including a fadeaway from the left baseline that gave Boston the lead for good. The crowd erupted. Dominique answered again with a pull-up jumper, his 45th and 47th points. But Bird calmly responded with another jumper from the top of his key. It wasn't just the shots, it was the timing. Bird had a unique sense of drama, and when the moment called for it, he never flinched. Every bucket he made in the fourth wasn't just clutch, it was demoralizing. The Celtics pulled ahead by 4, then 6, and then sealed it from the 3-row line. When the buzzer sounded, Boston escaped with a 118-116 win. But there were no losers in this duel, only legends. What made this moment so unforgettable was the sheer will of both players. Bird's 20-point fourth quarter in a Game 7 is the stuff of myth, and Dominique's 47-point masterpiece is one of the most hostile environments in sports, is still considered one of the greatest. For Bird, it was a reinforcement of his legacy as one of the most clutch performers in NBA history. For Wilkins, it was a heartbreaking validation that greatness doesn't always equal victory, but it cemented his place among the game's elite. Their duel wasn't just a game. It was a reminder of what playoff basketball is all about. Two Warriors, one stage. After the final buzzer in Game 7, the Boston Celtics advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals to face the Detroit Pistons. But they were drained physically and emotionally. Larry Bird, already battling back problems, continued to play with tenacity. The Celtics would ultimately lose to the Pistons in 6 games, marking a symbolic end to Boston's dominance in the 1980s. Bird's legendary fourth quarter heroics against Atlanta added yet another layer to his mythos. The Game 7 became one of his signature performances. For Dominique Williams and the Atlanta Hawks, the loss was heartbreaking but transformative. Wilkins had long been viewed as the highlight machine, known more for his dunks than overall game. But that series, and particularly Game 7, changed the narrative. Dominique didn't just go along the league's elite, he was the elite. His 47 points on 58% shooting in Game 7 against one of the best defenses of the era proved his scoring talent was more than style. It was substance under fire. Teammate Doc Rivers said, "That was the night he earned his stripes in the eyes of everyone." Media coverage following the game was glowing. The Boston Globe hailed it as one of the greatest individual duels in playoff history. Fans across the country, even those with no stake in either team, were captivated. NBA writers called it a masterclass in clutch scoring, and even decades later, players like Dwayne Wade and Paul Pierce cited it as one of their favorite playoff moments. Yet despite all this, the duel is often underrated in mainstream discussion. It lacks the championship stakes of a final showdown, and neither the Celtics nor the Hawks went on with that title that year. But for purists, for those who cherish the intensity of the postseason and the artistry of isolation brilliance, Bird vs. Wilkins in '88 remains sacred. In hindsight, it was more than a duel, it was a torch-passing moment between two eras. Two legends, one game, and a shootout for the ages. Larry Bird and Dominique Wilkins didn't just compete, they elevated the game to something more. A clash of will, pride, and pure basketball artistry. In an era of great matchups, this duel stood apart for its intensity, skill, and mutual respect. No theatrics, no super teams, just two warriors trading blow after blow in a Game 7 that's etched in NBA history. So now we ask you, what was the greatest playoff of all time, or was it this? Or does another showdown come to mind? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you love legendary NBA battles like this, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around for more timeless moments from the hardwood.